1500-meter freestyle finals. In lane 1 from Japan, Takatomo Tani. In lane 2 from Mission Viejo Nadadores, Shingo Nakaya. In lane 3 from Cardinal Aquatics, Marcelo Acosta. In lane 4 from Longhorn Aquatics, Clark Smith. In lane
Smith won the 400 a couple of days ago as he and Jay Litherland went 1-2 in that event.
In lane 7 from Japan, Shogo Takeda.
Likewise, True Sweetser from the United States is in lane 6. Lane 6 just below the 2 white lane lines.
Read a couple of days ago that Clark Smith has decided not to swim this event at the National Championships. Of course, that may change over the next 3 weeks. He still has that option, but going to concentrate more on the 200 and 400 freestyles. Probably not a bad decision when you think about the fact that so tough to have that range and concentrate 200, 400, 1500. Completely different races as far as strategy goes in training.
Makes it so remarkable what Ledecky does.
Yeah, it really does. And think about Ledecky, going back to her for just a second, when she made that 400 freestyle relay, swimming that 100 all the way up to the 800. It's a little like track and field, running the 400 in track and field and going up to the 10,000.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
remarkable.
It is remarkable what she was able to do. So when Clark Smith talks about concentrating on those shorter events, I think it's probably pretty good strategy. He would have a great shot of making the 1500, no doubt. And there have been some super swimmers. Connor Yeager comes to mind automatically, who have been able to do that and do it successfully.
Clark Smith leading Kohei Yamamoto. Smith, 22 years old, from Denver, a senior this year at Texas. Yamamoto, 25 years old, from Japan. Yamamoto won the 1500 at last year's Japanese Olympic trials, but his time of 14:57 missed the qualifying standard for Rio by 1.7 seconds.
I never have really understood that qualifying time. I think if you win your country's Olympic trials, you should be able to go to the Olympic Games.
Ought to be enough, huh?
It really should.
Clark Smith with the lead. It was a few months ago, that incredible mile race at the NCAAs. Smith, Michigan's Felix Aubeck, South Carolina's Akram Mahmoud, Northwestern's Jordan Wilimovsky, the Olympian, all finished within 1 second of each other in a mile-long race with Clark Smith winning.
It really was one for the ages, and I know when you think about the 650, a lot of people go get a snack or something, but I'm telling you, it was really one of the most exciting races I've ever seen at the collegiate level. I had been doing the NCAA championships. That was my 28th year for the men. Done the women 24 years now.
Did you start when you were like 3 years old?
I know, can you believe it? But I think of the 28 years I've been covering the NCAA championship, it was the single most exciting race. It wasn't the best race as far as times. More dominant times have come to mind. You know, the first guy to break 19 I saw in the 50 freestyle, but what a great race. What an amazing race. If you ever get a chance to YouTube that race, you really need to. It was really special.
Yep, the 1650 at the NCAA championships this year in Indianapolis.
Clark Smith, 358.8. Sorry, Rich, 358.8. Good position there. You can kind of just maintain that minute pace right here. He'll be set to go his best time, 15:05.9. That would be a stretch to be able to get that at this point of the year.
Oh, Rowdy, you were a sprinter, but for somebody who swims like this, how do they break it up? Do you break it up into 3 500s?
Everybody has their own strategy, but that's the way that I like to concentrate. When I used to swim the 200, I moved up to the 200. That's what you want to try to do. You want to try to break it up into 4 individual 50s and try to figure out a strategy to get through each 50. And the same thing with the 1500. If you can break it up into 3 or 4 different sections, and again, it's all about developing a pace that you can fall into that's comfortable yet aggressive. And those two words are kind of oxymoron, that they don't really go together. But that's what it's got to be. It's got to be a comfortable pace, but it can't be one that you can lay back and rest on. He was 101.8 there, so he's going to come back.
Leader is still Clark Smith with Kohei Yamamoto following behind.
Not great 15 minutes certainly here, but still setting himself up. And if you look across the field right now, he's got some pretty good swimmers.
Kohei Yamamoto of Japan still second behind Clark Smith.
5 countries represented here, including 3 from Japan. And again, the Olympic Games every 4 years they always bring some sort of retirement that's going to affect a team. Certainly the biggest effect that the United States is going to feel, no question about it, will be Michael Phelps, obviously, the greatest swimmer, greatest Olympic champion in history. That's going to definitely affect the United States, but I think next on the list is Conor Yeager. What he was able to provide for leadership for the United States, winning that silver medal at the Olympic Games last summer, also swam the 400 freestyle, so the United States is going to really feel the effect on the men's side. I think the women's side, obviously, Maya Dorado's retirement, they're going to feel the most, but for the men, Michael Phelps and Yeager, that's a tough one to lose. Those are tough ones to lose.
Doesn't look like Smith is going to break 15 minutes. 8 men this year have broken 15 minutes, including the Olympic champion, Gregorio Paltrinieri of Italy, around the 14:37. In the Italian World Championship trials back in early April.
Well, he was 101.3 on that 100 previously, and the word is he's going to go for an 800. And basically what that means, he's going to stretch out and try to go a good last 100. That was a 700 mark, Rich. So what he'll do is put in a good last 100, possibly touch the wall, get an 800 time, and then push off and just cruise the next 700, so he'll fall way back unless for some reason he decides to, hey, listen, I'm out front, I might as well go for it the last 700 meters. But you can kind of see the aggressiveness in his stroke, the tempo pick up here. He's starting to put his legs into it. 734 at the 750, so here's about an 805, maybe 804. And yes, he is. You can see it right now, and guarantee he's going to stop at the 800. Watch him touch the wall with his hands first and then flip. He's got to finish the race if that time is going to count. Now, he could get out of the water and get DQ'd and the time wouldn't count, but you can see, obviously, he's going for an 800. Touches, sees his time real quick. 802, wow, he had a great last 50. And no, he's going to say, forget it. I'll get DQ'd, I'll get out. He gets out of the pool. That means that 802 will not count on the board. Not that he cares, but it will not count.
So what was the purpose of doing that?
To get an 800 time. He may still swim the 800 at the World Championships.
And that time will count.
That time will not.
It does not count.
It does not count. He's been disqualified. Once you get out of the pool, the time does not count. So, but it doesn't really matter. He's already qualified for the 800. The time really isn't going to help or hurt him going forward. Certainly not going to qualify him to go to Budapest. So he just wanted to see what he could do in an 800. I'm done for the day. I didn't want to swim that last 700. Probably's got a red eye to get back to Austin tonight, to get home, catch a plane. But now all of a sudden the shift definitely is completely different now, hasn't it?
Shingo Nakai of Japan, all the way up in lane 2, has the lead. Marcelo Acosta of El Salvador. Last year became the first ever swimmer from El Salvador to achieve an A cut into the Olympic Games. He's in lane 3, was 22nd in the 1500 in Rio.
Again, if John Smith would have, excuse me, John, his father, Clark, if Clark would have finished the race, the time would have counted, Rich. But because he got out, he got disqualified. You can literally break a world record going out in a race. It's been done before. Going out in a 1500, you can break the world record at the 800 mark. Yeah. I think he should swim the 800. The 2, 4, and 8 are much more likable than the 2, 4, and 15 as far as being able to do that. It depends on where the 800 falls in the program for Clark.
Clark Smith, our leader after 800 meters. Race he figures to be swimming at the Nationals coming up in 3 weeks. Got out of the water after the 800 meters, leaving Shingo Nakaya of Japan in the lead, ahead of Marcelo Acosta from San Salvador, the capital city of El Salvador.
Not in the picture right now. Area is coming up right there. That's Drew Sweetser. Swims for Stanford. He was a Olympic trials finalist in the 400 freestyle. Had a disappointing 1500 at the trials, but he's a guy that you definitely want to keep an eye on, that could have some possibilities. Now that Jaeger's gone, Wilimowski is still around. You saw what Jordan Wilimowski did in the 10K, swam the open water. He could swim the 1500.
And your leader at 11:10:12 is
certainly the best 1500 swimmer in the world right now is Gregorio Protonieri from Italy. The Olympic gold medals from last summer, has the fastest time in the world by 11 seconds. Sun Yang might be the best distance swimmer in recent history. I still say Grant Hackett is the greatest Olympic male distance swimmer in history. No question who the greatest Olympic, greatest distance swimmer in history is, men or women. That's Katie Ledecky. But Protonieri and his teammate Gabriele Delti.
2 medalists from last year.
Yep.
Detti taking the bronze, and Protonieri, of course, the gold. As Jaeger grabbed the silver. And Wilimowski finished 4th in that race. The Americans and the Italians went 1, 2, 3, 4.
What a swim by Wilimowski. 14:45.
Your new leader is Marcelo
Jaeger broke the
Acosta
American record in that race at the Olympic Games, 14:39. Nobody's going to come close to that American record this summer.
Neck and neck. Marcelo Acosta of El Salvador. Shingo Nakaya above him from Japan. They're both 20 years old. Acosta was 2nd in the 800 free on Thursday. He's a redshirt sophomore this year at the University of Louisville. Louisville Cardinals building a strong program.
Gabriero has done such a tremendous job at Louisville.
Still in the lead is Marcelo Acosta, but Shingo Nakaya is right behind him.
It's Acosta over Nakaya. Clark Smith had the lead by a large margin at the 800 mark. They'll be swimming the 800 and Nationals coming up in 3 weeks in Indianapolis, so he stopped his race there.
Sun Yang is the world record holder from China. A lot of controversy follows him. Still another guy to look at this summer. Had a great 400 earlier in this year. Has not swum 1500 thus far this year. Think about the great 1500 swimmers. Australia certainly comes to mind. Talking about Grant Hackett, Kieran Perkins.
Are you surprised that Mac Horton was the factor in the 1500 last year?
Well, you know, after winning gold in the 400, you certainly thought that maybe he would have a chance there. He did swim well. I mean, 14:49, not a bad swim, but boy, he just ran against some huge freight trains. Protonieri, Jaeger, Detti, and of course Wilimowski.
Horton did take down Sun Yang in that 400 after calling him out as a drug cheat.
Yeah.
And he backed it up and won.
A couple times that happened with Willie King in the 100 breaststroke.
Yefimova. Yeah.
Both backed it up.
Looking forward to seeing what Lily King has in store for us this summer.
Well, her next
Both
goal is
in
to
and
break
out
the
of the
world
pool.
record.
Yeah.
That's next on her list. And I wouldn't put it past her. Here we go. Finishing up.
Marcelo Acosta in lane number 3. Was 22nd of the 1500 at the Rio Games, and wins it here, our final Arena Pro Swim Series race of the year. Acosta 15:14:03. About 10 seconds outside being one of the top 10 performers this year. So the El Salvadorian Marcelo Acosta takes the 1500. He had been second in the 800 on Thursday to Matthias Koski.
He did beat Katie Ledecky's time. How about that? Not by much.
Not by much. So Acosta wins it. And then Shogo Takeda of Japan in second. And Shingo Nakaya, also of Japan, third. The top seed, Koya Yamamoto, ended up 6th.